Hello, thank you for joining me. We are going to talk today about zones of regulation. I am Kimberly Howard, Field Training Coordinator for Kentucky Autism Training Center. We are going to spend some time today talking about self-regulation. How do we teach others to self-regulate, and what is self-regulation? So we know that this is a lifelong skill that everyone needs to have. Let's start first with the question of what is self-regulation? So self-regulation is the ability to direct how you're going to reveal your emotions behaviorally and in socially adaptive or socially appropriate ways. So a part of self-regulation is resiliency, self-control, self-management, anger management, impulse control, and sensory regulation. I found that the children or students that I supported in my classroom and in my personal life struggled with things like being angry or frustrated and still being able to be socially appropriate or respond to those emotions or show those emotions in a socially appropriate manner. So I went down the path of trying to figure out, how do I support them? How do I teach this skill? And I know that it's a lifelong critical skill that they're going to need to be able to be successful in the workplace, to be successful with friends. And I found zones of regulation. So zones of regulation is a program, and it also, there's a book that you can buy, but you don't have to have the book. And I'm going to give you their website, which has fabulous free resources. So zones of regulation is a systematic cognitive behavior approach that's used to teach self-regulations by categorizing all the different ways that we feel, so angry, happy, sad, excited, into concrete zones. And they're made concrete by giving them a color. And we're going to talk about what each of those mean as we dive in today to zones of regulation. Zones of regulation is meant to be a framework. So it's a teaching tool. It's a framework to help us think through this process, and it's a great way to nurture skill development in children all ages. It is research-based for ages 4 into high school, so it's age appropriate for a wide range of children, which is phenomenal. And it's supportive in nature. The goal of this is not meant to be a punishment. I'm never going to punish someone for being in the wrong zone, but it's a way to take thoughts, feelings, and emotions, which are not always very concrete or easy to see, and make them more visible and give us a way that we can talk about them and to give us a common language to talk about these with our child. And the nice thing about this is that you can use this at home, you can use this in the community, you can use this at school. There's so many places. This can go with you everywhere to help support you and your child in emotional regulation. The goals of zones of regulation is to help children and adults successfully regulate emotions across a lot of different situations in life that they may experience. It's also to help give students a visual representations of feelings, and I'm going to show you what that looks like in a minute. And if they are speaking or able to speak, then to help them verbally. And if they have not yet developed that skill or ability, then the goal of zones of regulation is to give you a really nice, concrete, picture-based way to communicate about thoughts and feelings, and to identify how they are in the moment that they're in. So it's a great place to start. So this is an example of what zones of regulation could look like for your family. There are a million different options out there, and if you are trying to decide what you want yours to look like, you can Google zones of regulation, and lots of different options will come up, and you can also access these for free. This example here is available for free on their website. So it basically takes thoughts, feelings, and emotion and gives them a color code. And we're going to walk through what each of these colors mean. And then the other piece that is my favorite part is that you can add in, well, what do I do if I'm in a red zone and I'm upset? Or how do I handle being in a yellow zone? I'm feeling worried today. What steps can I take to help myself get back to a better zone for me? So this is just the first example. I'm going to show you lots of pictures and lots of options, and you should be thinking about how best would this look for my family? How can I modify this? And there's 1,000 options out there that will fit best for my particular child. All right, the first zone that we are going to talk about is the blue zone. The blue zone can mean things like, I'm tired. I have a low state of alertness. Maybe I feel sick, sad, maybe I'm bored. So this is the blue zone, and you can insert maybe the specific words that your child is using into this zone. So blue zone, sick, sad, tired, bored is the emotions that we're feeling when we're in this particular zone. This is the green zone. The green zone means that you might feel happy, content, focused, you're ready to learn, and this is probably the place that we want to introduce the zones of regulation. Hopefully your child is in the green zone and you are also in the green zone. This means that this is a calm state of alertness, and this is the optimal place for learning to occur. This is the red zone. The red zone means that we are feeling intense emotions. We probably do not have control of our body, and for some students this means that we don't always have control of what is coming out of our mouth at this point. We might feel elated, maybe we're extremely happy, maybe we're extremely angry. Rage, terror also could be red zone. If I see a spider, I go to the red zone if it gets on me. Devastation, something has happened and I'm just devastated by it. Red zone is frequently, for some of us, where we find ourselves. And so figuring out how to get in and out of the red zone can be important. And I'm going to give you some tips for handling a red zone on the next slide. Tips for handling an unexpected red zone. So if your child is in the red zone, they are upset. Maybe they're experiencing rage, terror. It could be fear. But safety should be our first priority. So think about how your child reacts and responds to the red zone. For my personal child, when he was very young, his reaction was to run away. So I knew that if he was in the red zone, that I needed to be prepared to grab his hand if we were in a location that it would not be safe for him to run away, such as walking on a street or at an event or anywhere out into places into the community. It wouldn't necessarily be safe for him to run away. So think through safety for you and your child. That's where we have to start from. This is not the time to have a big conversation, so limit those verbal interactions. So I'm not going to ask them a lot of questions. I'm not going to give them a lot of verbal demands, such as stop what you're doing and come and sit down with me. Maybe I'm going to say things like sit, and I'm going to point to the chair. So I'm going to limit the words that I'm using, because when we're in a red zone, our body is in fight, flight, or freeze. We're going to fight to the end. We're going to run away, which is the flight piece, or we're going to freeze up and we're just kind of frozen in terror and our bodies can't move. And we all experience fight, flight, or freeze mode, adults, children, it doesn't matter. You're going to validate your child's feelings. You don't have to agree with them, but you can say things like, I can tell that you're mad. I can see that you're angry here. Give them time and space if that's safe to do. Maybe this is the time to back up a little bit. If you're in a safe location for them and for yourself, you're going to back up. Give them a little bit, give them a few minutes to kind of collect their self and pull their self back together, especially before you give them verbal instructions. We're going to talk about this process later, which is called stopped, opt, and go, which I think is really helpful. I found it to be very helpful in my professional life and in my personal life. For some kids, you need to have a designated safe spot. If they are frequently going in and out of a red zone at your house or at school or wherever this is happening at, you're going to think about where can they go and be safely upset and angry. So yellow is our last zone. Yellow means a heightened state of alertness. I might be angry, but I still do have some control. Maybe I'm feeling stressed, anxiety, frustration. It could be being really silly or I'm really excited. But the difference between red and yellow is that I do have the ability to have some control with what is happening. So this is the yellow zone. Starter tips. For starters, adults that are involved in this must model. So if you're using this with your family, the adults in the family, if you have teens, you need them to help you model this. And you also need to take that visual support with you when you go places. So one of the ways that I would model this is I would fake I would fake being upset or I would fake being happy, and sometimes I didn't need to fake being upset. And I would say, oh my gosh, I cannot find my car keys. True life story. I cannot find my car keys. This is putting me in the yellow zone, and I think I might be headed to the red zone. I'm so mad right now. I cannot find my car keys. And then I would say, what tool can I use? I need to find a tool to help myself calm down. And we'll talk about how to integrate the use of tools and what some options for tools might be. But as adults, we have to model this because one of the ways that our children learn self-regulation is by watching the adults in their lives around them. So remember that adults must actively model, and you need to take that visual support, whatever version of zones of regulation with you, especially in the beginning when you're just learning the vocabulary and they're just kind of learning those different colors. It should travel with you everywhere because we have feelings everywhere we go. Also set up times of the day to check in. So maybe I'm checking in the morning, maybe I'm checking in after school when they get home, maybe I'm checking in right before bedtime. I don't know, but think about natural times in your day that you could utilize to check in. And maybe everyone in your family is checking in on the zones. Be consistent. Everyone in your family has to buy in. You're going to need the support of everyone to make this be functional and work out really well for you. And all zones are okay. We're never punishing anyone. We're never saying, I can't believe you're in the red zone again. You need to go to timeout. All zones are okay. Realistically, we all have feelings. Feelings happen everywhere. Intense emotions, thoughts, and feelings, they're perfectly normal. But it's how we respond to those that make it if the way that we responded was socially appropriate or not. That's the thing that makes it, was this okay to be really mad or not? We all go through feelings, and that's a part of my favorite thing about zones is it teaches our children that, hey, everybody gets angry. We all have to learn, how do we deal when we're really happy? How do we deal with being upset or mad or frustrated? Everyone experiences emotions. So all zones are okay. And then don't forget, it needs to go with you everywhere that you go. So hopefully this should be small and something that's portable that you can take with you. So here are some takeaways at this point from zones of regulation. We never label a zone as good or bad. Feelings are feelings. They are what they are. And a child or an adult can be in more than one zone at a time, which I don't think we've talked about this yet, but it is very possible to be in multiple zones at the same time. I don't know about you all, but the blue zone, sick, tired, sad, sometimes I am all of those things. I definitely have the blue tired zone. But maybe I'm also in the green zone. I'm feeling really good about what's happening. I've worked hard. It's been a good day. It's very possible to be in more than one zone at a time. So acknowledge that. You are going to individualize this tool for your family, and we'll show you some examples of what what that might look like for your family in a few minutes. Also, all zones are expected. We're going to go in and out of different zones throughout the day, sometimes throughout the same minute. All zones are expected at different times. And this is a teaching tool. This is meant to give you a tool and a strategy that you can use to help support your child's behavior. So, how do we adapt this and make this for families? Zones of Regulation offers a specific checklist for families, and this is available on their website. And I am providing you the link to this checklist on one of the last slides of this PowerPoint. So you'll see the exact link that you need to go to find this. This is how to make a zones check-in for at home. So the first step is they have made a video with directions for families specifically, so you can start there. That link is also included at the end of this PowerPoint. Step 2, decide what you want your check-in to look like. And I'm going to show you several options and possibilities that you can customize or decide which version will work best for your family. And there are probably at least more than 100, there are a couple of hundred options, maybe more than that out there that you can choose from. Step 3, gather up the materials that you need, and that depends on what version you decide to go with. And then 4, create your zone checklist or your zones check-in, which includes all 4 zones, red, yellow, green, and blue. And then 5, have a version of that you are displaying in a place where your family spends time around. Step 6 is start checking in. You should plan in your day or have planned times, especially in the beginning. You need to have planned times that you're checking in. And then also you are checking in if you see that your child is beginning to shift from one zone to another, or maybe you can tell that they're headed to a red zone or a yellow zone. So you're going to check in with them and hopefully provide them with some skills and tools to help them move out of the red or the yellow zone. So I think this is a great tool for helping you get started. And how do I use this at home? And thankfully, the Zones of Regulation have provided this nice kind of how to get started checklist. So I think it's a great option for families to utilize to get started. We will spend the next few slides looking at what are your options? What could this look like for your family, and giving you some choices. This option is included with the Zones Regulation. It can be found on their website and is available for free to print out. So quick, simple option, and it has the 4 zones, blue, green, yellow, and red. I like it because it is not super babyish, and it allows for some multicultural aspects to be included into Zones of Regulation. So here is one option, and there are many more. This option and many of the others that I'm going to show you right now, I found online. I simply Googled, or whatever version of that you would like to use, the Zones of Regulation examples, and a million, at least 1 million come up. So I like this one in particular because I like emojis. They're kind of universal, and will work across a lot of age ranges. Many kids and teens, especially that are old enough to be utilizing social media, will be familiar with some of these emojis, or perhaps they're already using them in texting with friends. So one great option is the emoji version. In this version of Zones of Regulation, your visual support piece, it still has your systematic blue, green, yellow, and red zone, but it offers an option for tools. My preference is when I'm using Zones of Regulation, in the beginning, I might start out with just talking about what color the zones are, and then working on labeling emotions and feelings, which is a big first step. But my goal is to get to tools. So tools are open to being whatever works best for you and your family. So think about what are options that your child has and what are options that you have that are home-based. So some of these tools are things like use a fidget, take a walk, ask for a drink of water, eat a snack. Lots of options that would work no matter where you're at. Take some deep breaths. Um, on the second version, it is specifically for it is broken into colors. So the yellow zone has its own page, which is okay. There's lots of options and you can decide what works best for you. In the yellow zone, they offer these tools saying, take a break, get a drink of water or get a drink of something. Use your inner coach, which is a inner coach would be a skill that you would need to feel comfortable or in teaching your child, or they would need to be working with someone to develop their inner coach. But lots of options, and this is just one of the many choices. And I'm going to provide you with a link at the end of this document that will take you to a Google Drive that have some of these examples of zones of regulation already in it that you can choose from and print out if you find something that you like. One of the things that I have seen be done very successfully is relating the zones of regulation to a favorite character, or in this case, it's a movie that I think it's called Inside Out. So each of these characters kind of match up pretty well to these zones of regulation. And so this was a child that very much enjoyed that cartoon. And so they were able to make the connection or help them make the connection between the zones of regulation and the characters. I have also seen that be successfully done with superheroes and a variety of other storybook characters or cartoon-based characters that your child really enjoys. So you're adding in some of their own personal interest and personalizing it for them, which I think is a great idea if that works for you and your family. This example of zones of regulation takes us all the way back to some board maker type symbols. These are kind of some neutral face that you can find in board maker style. And they do a nice job of giving us some options and also a nice visual image of what your face could look like if you are in that zone. So just another option to know about. And there are many, many versions of this out there. So you can do a little bit of searching online if that's a good option for you to find out some variety of this that might work best for you, along with the Google Drive document that I will provide you to give you some starter options if you just want to do something that is very simply accessed for your family, as well as there are options for simply printing out versions of zones of regulation on the Zones of Regulation website. So they offer some free visual supports to help you get started. So several options that will hopefully help you find the right option for you and your family. Just once you choose an option, be consistent, and it should look the same everywhere that you use it. What zone am I in? In this version, it offers some very clear pictures of colored versions of blue, green, yellow, and red. I love that it offers the tools at the bottom. So if I'm in the blue zone, maybe I'm color coded to drink some water or go for a walk. If I'm in the yellow zone, then maybe I need to talk to an adult, read a book, listen to some music. If I'm in the red zone, then this particular version prompts me to go to a safe zone. In my classroom, that was a indoor swing, was considered our safe zone. I have seen parents use their couch or a recliner as the safe zone, a child's bedroom. You can decide if that's the version that you want to use, but you should have a clearly demarcated or a place that's considered a safe zone, a place that a child can go when they are angry or upset. So just one more option that you can choose. And I think I'm going to show you one more version and then we'll move on from here. This version of zones is very close to the previous version. The only difference is in your options of tools. It offers for red zone a break at your desk. This could be a break in your house somewhere. And it also offers different versions of what are my tools for yellow zone. So for this, it offers wall push-ups, playing with soft blocks, counting, jumping on a trampoline, taking a deep breath. So some great options that you might need. I want you to know about the Book Nook. And now we're going to move into a phase of talking about some of the tools that you can utilize to help you teach zones of regulation and to help you teach your child calming strategies. The Book Nook, and this is the actual website link, but what I am finding is that I just Google zones of regulation Book Nook and it will come up. When you get there, what you're going to find is a list of common children's books that you would find in your public library or school library, and you can utilize those books to help teach the zones of regulation. And it tells you what zone you will find those characters in, because sometimes when we're first identifying thoughts, feelings, and emotions, it's easier to talk about it. It's easier to talk about someone else's thoughts, feelings, and emotion and identify theirs before you start trying to identify your own. So the first book that they offer is Chrysanthemum, and it is a story about a young child that is going to school and the children are making fun of her name. So she is in the blue zone. So the Book Nook gives you some strategies that you could help utilize to teach about the blue zone. So a great option, great tools and resources. Most of the books in that are geared towards elementary age, but there are some suggestions for middle school and high school as well. So we are going to talk about the tools that you will find inside of the book. So to access these tools, you primarily will only find them inside of the book, Zones of Regulation. So for families, I offer this tip. I have found this book at Half Price Books. I have found this book at Thrift Books, and you can find it in places like Amazon and get used versions. That will be much cheaper. A new version currently runs around $56 for the book, but the nice thing about the book is that it offers many tools that you can use. And it offers many lessons that and steps that you can actually walk your child through. Hopefully you're utilizing this in partnership with a school or a therapy-based program, and they can help provide the therapy pieces that are involved in the book, which is excellent and wonderful and so useful. And it does a great job of teaching them strategies to help calm and then identifying their own thoughts, feelings, and emotions and being able to recognize those in their self, which is a big step. This is the 6 Sides of Breathing. This is a visual support or a tool that you will find inside of the book. The way that this works is you place your finger on the star and then you breathe in, hold, breathe out, breathe in as you move your finger around the shape in the direction that the arrows are pointing. It's a great tool for learning how to breathe. Many times when a child is upset or an adult, the first thing that we say is you need to take a deep breath. Well, taking a deep breath can be confusing. They may not know what you mean by that. So this is a great tool to help teach them how to breathe. So one good option that you will find inside of the book. Another example of tools that you will find inside of the zones of regulation is called the Lazy 8 breathing. And the book walks you through how to use your finger basically to trace the 8 as you breathe in and out. So this is just another option for teaching the strategy of taking how to breathe. So another tool that you will find inside of the book is reproducible M, which are idioms. Thinking about how much non-literal language we use around thoughts and feelings. When I first looked at this, I was very surprised and I realized that a lot of times I don't say straightforward what I'm thinking. When it comes to thoughts, feelings, and emotions, I might say things like, I'm feeling blue or I'm feeling under the weather. Maybe I'm saying I'm cool or I'm cool as a cucumber. I know I've definitely heard that where I live at. The green zone could be I'm in 7th heaven or I feel 10 feet tall. We might also use other non-literal language for the yellow zone. So cause a stir at the end of your rope under the wire. I'm like a fish out of water. The red zone could be I went bananas. I'm coming apart at the seams. I'm mad as a hornet. I'm jumping for joy. We use a lot of non-literal language that can be a challenge for our friends with autism, and can be a challenge for a variety of learners. So the zones of regulation does a good job of helping you think about what are the words that you're using to describe emotions and helping you come to a consistent pattern. And then thinking about, as that child grows older, helping them to learn some of these non-literal meanings for thoughts and feelings. This isn't the example of the stopped opt and go solution finder that you will find inside of the Zones of Regulation book. I think this is a great tool to teach our children. What it does basically is it teaches you the red light, which is stop and think before you act. The yellow light part of that is, what are your options? What am I wanting to do right now? What are my options? And how will they work out? If I choose option A versus option B, which one is the better option for me in this moment? And then go with your best option. This is one of the best visual supports for teaching students that I have found, to teach them to slow down, stop a minute and think about what you're doing, and think about what are your options. Some of these options could cause me to be in trouble. Some of these options might be a much happier solution for me right now. And then choose your best option. So I really like this solution finder. And this is the stopped, opt, and go that I talked about earlier in this presentation. This is the resources that I was talking about earlier in the presentations as we come almost to the very end. This website will take you to the Zones of Regulation resources. Once you arrive at that page, scroll down just a bit until you find the Zones resources for home. Once you are there, you're going to find free printables that you can take with you and use in a variety of places, both color-based and black and white. That you could print out at your local library, or if you have a home printer. Also, you're going to find additional resources for getting started at home, as well as that checklist that we showed towards the beginning of this PowerPoint. So some great options that are totally free to you, provided by Zones of Regulation. And the second thing, that is that's what you would look for. That is the title of the book, and that is the author's name. And I will mess up. I do not pronounce it very well, but there you can find her name and the year that this was printed. It's been around for quite a while, so it has a little bit of time and to make sure that it was accurate and good resource out there. So it's been around for a while. It's not brand new. So that also means that you can find it out there used, which is always a lovely option for families. This bit.ly link will take you to the resource folder that I talked about. Inside of that resource folder, you will find some additional examples of Zones of Regulation that might work for your family, just some nice options, as well as some games and strategies that you can use to help you get started. And this is my email, kimberly.howard@kedc.org. So if you have questions or concerns, or you're trying to figure out how to get started, feel free to email me. It might take me a day or two to get back to you, but I do try to respond. All right, and now we have come to the end. And I would ask that you scan this QR code or go to the bit.ly link and complete the evaluation and let us know what you thought. Was this helpful or not helpful? We do value your feedback and we appreciate your time, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you very much.